Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the In Between the Stitches podcast. I'm your host, Brady Wilson, without my co-host, Chase Olswanger. Chase will be joining us in a couple of minutes. I'm going to get to the Stars segment. I'm going to do the Rangers segment, and then I'm going to probably bring him on and probably do the Cowboys. I'll do all three first, and we'll bring him on for the Mavs to end it, and we'll get his thoughts on any of the things that we talked about with the Cowboys. Stars are back. Hey, hockey's back. Congratulations, Team USA. Great job. Jack Hughes with the game-winning goal. Connor Hellebuck stood on his head. I mean, it was a great game. And hey, it's the first time since 1980 that the U.S. has won gold in men's hockey. It was fantastic. And then, of course, congratulations to the women's team. They also won gold. So hey, both U.S. hockey teams winning. We're on top, baby. Number one. We also have the WBC coming up, and here in I think a couple weeks, next week, it's coming up pretty soon. So, and obviously we have the World Cup coming up. So the U.S. has a chance to really capture, and I'm not saying we're going to win the World Cup, but I'm just saying we have a chance to capture some more magic here on the world stage of sports. But the Stars did play yesterday. They beat the Kraken 4-1 at home. Wyatt Johnston with 2 goals, Sam Steele with a poke job goal, and Matt Duchene with a goal that was almost a high stick, but it counted as a goal. Very weird game. The Kraken challenged Sam Steele's goal, and Steele is screaming up the goalie to the goalie's right? And I cannot remember who it was. That's right. Ritzkovian had a great pass to Bork. Bork has a nice shot. It's somewhere in between the goalie's pads. We don't, Josh Bogorod was saying it, we don't really see the puck until it goes to the net. Steele comes in and just jabs at it, and it goes through. And the Kraken challenged this and said it was goalie interference when I don't think Steele touched the goalie until he poked at the puck. It was a very, very weird goal, and then we got on the power play, and I believe that is when Wyatt Johnston scored his second goal of the night. So, and we went up 4-0. The Kraken would add a goal in the third period. Dallas outshot Seattle 32-19. It was a very complete game from the Stars, and it was a complete game without several key players. Radek Faksa, who played for Czech, he was out. Although they did say he skated, so he might be coming back, pretty soon. Rope Hintz was out. I haven't seen how long he's going to be out for. It may have just been kind of same to Faksa, maintenance kind of coming out of the Olympics. The big one, Mikko Rantanen, your best player overall, I'd say, out for at least 2 weeks. Could be a little more. So he'll be out through the trade deadline. He'll be out going into March. You only have 25 games left. 7 weeks. 7 weeks from yesterday will be your last game. I think it's in Buffalo. And you're going to be without Mikko for 2 of those weeks, at least, maybe a third. You hope just 2, with a lower body injury. And so, they recalled Arttu Huru, I think, to fill his spot. But the good news. Sorry, I was thinking because my brain kept thinking there was somebody else they brought up, but no, that was it. Adam Ernie and Nathan Bastian were also, they were starting, but they were already healthy scratches. Liam Bichsel, Big Bichsel's back, so he helps out your defense. He helps out your defensive core. Stars still looking to make additions. There were rumors even today that the Stars are making offers. The trade deadline being next Friday. Looking at the Stars page, hold on. That's right. So they called up Remy Poirier, I think, to replace Ottinger, just in case to Smith, because Ottinger wasn't going to play. I saw a thing that said today that the Stars have made an offer or they were highly interested in somebody, as the Rangers are playing a double game right now. I know people are probably seeing this going, wait, the Rangers are playing 2 games? Yes, they're playing a game against Milwaukee, and they're playing a game against, I almost said Vegas, then I almost said Oakland, the A's. But the Stars are obviously, Blake Coleman, there was news that He's staying in Dallas for the rest of the season. He lives here. So, like, hey, maybe they call up Calgary and they try to get that done. Nazem Kadri's another guy they've wanted to get done. The Canucks have a trade offer on the table from the Red Wings for defenseman Tyler Myers. His deal does have a no movement clause. And also, here it is, according to Darren Dreger of TSN, Dallas Stars are also interested in Myers. He is from Texas. Well, he was born in Texas, but he grew up in Alberta. Well, he's a Texan. Yeah, we'll count him. He's honorary. Stars got a game coming up in a couple days at home. I just turned my phone off, and I didn't take the chance to see who it was going to be against. Wish I had done that. They have a game. I know it's tomorrow, and it's at home. It's not tomorrow. It's Saturday at home against Nashville at 7 o'clock. So hopefully, we continue the winning streak. It's up to 7 now. It was 6 going into the break. Added 7th now, so hopefully we keep the winning streak going. But winning streaks are made to be lost, so we'll see. But hockey is back. It's going to be a big-time sprint to the end of the season. Obviously, we'll be covering it all right here. Let's see. Yeah. I'm trying to think if I want to go Rangers first. I was just talking about it. We'll go Rangers first. Playing a double game, playing split squad game against Milwaukee, and the A's right now are losing 4-0 to the A's, losing 1-0 to the Brewers. So we're losing on all fronts right now. I feel like... we're losing on both fronts. But again, this is spring training. There really isn't much to talk about. I know people want to talk about it because we're all starved for baseball. But there really isn't. I mean, I don't really talk about spring training stats because spring training stats don't matter. They matter to the guys trying to make a roster. And I recognize that. I recognize that there are men right now that are trying to play one more year in the sun. They're just trying to make it one more year. They're trying to make a roster. They're trying to see, put some film, show what they can do to another, to 29 other clubs that might be looking for their services. So, I recognize that, and I truly, hey, great for them. I hope that they continue to, try to achieve their dream. But as a fan, there's just not much reason for me to really follow the stats. I follow if we win. It's cool. Langford's crushing the ball right now. I think Jock's playing pretty well. Evaldi had a pretty good start the other day. His pitches look good. It's more about just getting your body right for the season. That's a big deal. There's a great article out about Brandon Nimmo. I cannot remember what platform it was on, but how he's mentoring Carter and Langford. I think that's pretty great to have a guy like that on your roster. I think that's definitely part of the reason they traded for him, which leads me to one thing I did want to talk about, which is there was another article on The Athletic. I cannot remember who it is that does it. I feel bad now that I can't remember. He polls, right? Bunch of club executives and I think coaches and like people, right? I think it's front office people. And like, who was the best addition, right? What it did, this and that. Just, anonymous polling. He asked a new question, I think he said this time around, and it was, who was the best subtraction from a roster? Number 1 was Nick Castellanos. And with all the stuff we've heard about coming out of, from him in Philadelphia, I think they're going to really appreciate Adolis Garcia. Just for the fact that Adolis can play good defense and give you some power. But he won't be maybe potentially causing problems like Nick Castellanos was. But for the second place guy, it was Marcus Semien from the Rangers. And I found that to be incredibly interesting that Semien was second. A guy that we've kind of always been told as fans, this is a great locker room guy. He's a veteran leader. He does all these things right. We've always just kind of felt, we've always kind of been told that. And then so for that to show up on that article that, hey, he was the second best subtraction according to a bunch of executives, that's a pretty relevant detail. You know what I mean? Very interesting for me, and I think for a lot of Rangers fans. And Jamie Newberg wrote a great piece on his Substack about, that's actually where I heard about the article, and that it sounds like, Seager does a great job. Seager is a true professional. Whenever they asked him at the start of spring training, hey, what was their beef? And he just kind of went, that, all of that, I prefer to keep behind the scenes in the clubhouse, behind closed doors. And I respect that. Seager is definitely not one to run to the media and go, hey guys, I got a problem with this guy. Nope. And I respect him for that. I think it sounds like that just him and Simeon maybe had more of, I don't say it was a quiet beef, but like there were never any reported like incidents of them yelling at each other or anything that you would typically, see, I think, in a beef between two athletes, right? You might see yelling, you might even see a fist fight, you might see a potential a potential attempt at a fist fight. I think that it's interesting that we didn't really hear much, but it sounds like there may have just been more of like a quiet rift. And I think that, my dad who's watching right now will tell you, as a phrase, there's a lot of phrases I got from him, especially when it comes to baseball. Probably my two favorites will always be flags fly forever and winning cures everything. Because, something about Arch Manning popped up on my phone. I was like, wait, what? Because, you see Arch Manning pop up, it must be significant. They're saying he's out of, I guess he had a hurt foot or something, and he was, throwing again. Cool. It's not football season. Let's see, back on track here. It was really just kind of a quiet, winning cures everything. And maybe in 2023, when they're winning, and him and Seager and Simeon are both playing really, really well, there's no beef. We're happy. And then 2024 was very disappointing. Riddled with injuries, underperforming players, and then 2025, more underperforming players, a great pitching staff. Like that's got to be incredibly frustrating for those guys on offense. Because that like if you just score 3 runs, you have a good, I think that they did the stat. It was either 3 or 4 runs. My dad can put on the chat here if he remembers more than I do. There was a stat, it's like the Rangers, when they score, I think it was 4 runs in a game. Just 4 runs. They were like, I think they had like 1 loss and like 20 wins. Right? Like it was insane. Like they didn't lose. If they scored 4 more runs, they didn't lose games. They rarely would lose the game. It's a big deal. And when you can't score runs from a team that was just a couple years ago one of the best offenses in baseball, and we were talking about it as this offense is right up there with the Dodgers and at the time the Braves and those teams that are just mashing baseballs. Now this team, we're like, man, can we just try to get back to decent, average offense? We can have an average offense, if we can just have an average offense, we're going to be a playoff team. And I'm sure that was frustrating. Obviously Kevin Pillar's comments came out, and it, when we all heard him say that, I know a lot of Rangers fans were like, they were pissed that he said that. And I was like, well, number one, I think 2 things can be true at the same time. One of my favorite phrases from my best friend. 2 things can be true at the same time. It can be true that Kevin Pillar was a little bit miffed that he played kind of well and didn't get a chance to stick around and was looking to kind of stick it to the Rangers. It can also be true that we had a clubhouse culture problem. That we had some issues in the clubhouse. Both can be true, and I think both are true. I think Kevin Pillar was a little, and I think he even retracted a little bit later. I think when he had some time to sit on it a little bit, I think he was like, well, they're great guys. It was just like he said, they're not close. I believe he was on the Braves in 2021 when they won the World Series, and he remarked he was on a World Series team. I think it was the Braves, and he remarked how tight that group was, how close they were. And I heard people like Jeff Wilson talk about how, like in 2023, if one of the guys in the hotel was gonna have we're gonna all go to one of our guys' hotel rooms and play cards, like the entire team would have showed up. They would have all told their wives or girlfriends or whatever, hey, I'm going to go do this with the guys. He said, now you might get 2 or 3 guys to show up. the group isn't just as close. And I think that is why you saw the mass exodus of players. Right? You've already lost Nathaniel Lowe, but then you don't bring back, trade, whatever, Adolis Garcia, Jonah Heim, and Marcus Semien. And you're shifting, you're keeping some of the 2023 core. Seager, Young, Carter was part of that team, right? Evaldi. But then you add guys like Mackenzie Gore, right? Great pitcher. You're hoping for Jack Leiter to continue his ascent to potential stardom. You're hoping that Kumar Rocker has I think this year, I think you could see a very similar path for both the Vandy boys. Leiter's first year kind of gets rocked. Second year, a lot better. I know that a lot of the nerd metrics say Leiter didn't have that great of a season. As someone that watched probably 75, 80% of his starts, he played really well for a guy that had gotten shelled the first year and was looking to just make strides. Rocker got hit kind of hard last year. I'm thinking that if he can, kind of do what Leiter did, we can have two. I mean, that rotation, the potential of it is phenomenal because you have Jacob deGrom, a guy that, in my opinion, should go to the Hall of Fame one day. You've got Nathan Evaldi, a guy who's going to be in the Rangers Hall of Fame one day. Mackenzie Gore, who has a chance, if the Rangers are able to re-sign him, to be a potential long-time Ranger. You have Jack Leiter, who's a former number 2 overall pick, who looks like he could be a future All-Star. And then Kumar Rocker, who we know probably has the better stuff. Rocker might have the best stuff of anyone besides deGrom on that pitching staff. It's just that he has trouble controlling it, and then when base runners get on, so people are like, well, move him to a closer. I don't really like him as a closer right now because if you remember last year, he really struggled when runners got on base. And so I don't really want to put him in a relief pitching position where he's got to come in with a runner on second in the 9th inning with 1 out, and we're up by 1. I don't really trust that. But point is, I think going back to the culture issues last year, I think that Semien, I don't want to speculate because I'm not in the clubhouse. And Newberg said that. I'm not in the clubhouse. I don't know exactly. All I can know is what I've been told from people and just kind of the vibe I get when I watch the team. You watch a team, you kind of understand the vibe. You understand their body language, right? And I think for Marcus Semien, it was just he's more of a quiet leader. He's not a rah-rah guy, right? Neither is Seager. And I think that when you're struggling, no one stood up and said, "Oh, captain, my captain," right? And we're gonna hammer this out. I think they just kind of quietly struggled. And then when they started to play well, the Little Rascals came in, and it was kind of this youthful jolt of energy into the team. And then you fizzle out the way you did. I think it just left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. And I think it was time to move on from some of the 2023 stalwarts. And I think it was time to try and shift the veteran leadership in the clubhouse, which is why you brought in a guy like Brandon Nimmo. Nimmo talked about why he waived his no-trade clause, because he could have said, I don't want to go to Texas. He said that, David Stearns called him and was like, hey, we have a deal in place with Texas, but obviously, we need you to waive your no-trade clause. And Nimmo kind of said that the feeling he got from Stearns was, we've already made this move. We just kind of need you to sign off on it, sign off, and then we can make the deal. Nimmo's, and he made sure to tell, Nimmo, like, hey, we didn't shop you. Texas wants you, right? They called us and were like, hey, we want Brandon Nimmo, right? And we feel like Marcus Semien could be a good clubhouse guy for us. Come in, kind of help be, he's won a World Series. He's got that experience. It helps. I wish nothing but the best for Semien, right? That's the thing about Garcia and Heim, even though Heim's body language ticked me off a lot. I hope he goes to the Braves and hits 300 with 40 homers. You know what I mean? Like, those guys will always be the guys that delivered one of the happiest memories of my life. So I will never, be mad at them. I was mad at them on the team when they were losing. When now that they're gone, it's like, hey, I hope nothing but the best for them, because because and you know why? when I watched the Red Sox play in the wild card game, every time Nathaniel Lowe walked to the plate, Nathaniel Lowe, as you know, 2023 World Series champion with the Texas Rangers, every time it was brought up. And I know my dad and I were both, anytime we watched it, we're just, big smile on our face because every time one of those guys comes to the plate now, as you know, Cameron Rangers won the World Series in 2023. Garcia, the first time he comes up, it's going to be, of course, on the 2023 World Series roster. Anytime that they go to the playoffs and they're playing, Garcia hits a walk-off home run. That's like what he did in 2023 for the Texas Rangers. Every time one of those guys does something on a national stage for their new team, our world championship's going to get brought up. Because once you're a champion forever. That's why it's so important for guys that play the sport, that actually care about playing the sport, want to win a championship so freaking badly. Because once you win, you will forever be known as, Brady Wilson champion. And that's how you'll be known. Even if you're a guy that was a guy like Nathaniel Lowe, pretty good player. He's not going to make he's not going to make any, big time, a ton of all-star teams or Gold Gloves or Silver Sluggers. He's done those, he's done some things. But outside of maybe the occasional award, he's going to be a pretty good player for you. But now his legacy as a baseball player is, I won a championship. I won one. I got a ring. Right? Will Smith, a left-handed, just kind of, not a good closer for a little while. Just a left-handed pitcher. 3 World Series rings. First of all, he also has like a really cool claim to fame. But once you win, you're a champion forever. Jacob deGrom is a champion forever. And I'm sorry, Mets fans, he won the championship with us. Once you're a champion, you will forever be known as that. You could win 1, you could win 7. You will always be known as a champion. And that is a great thing. So I'm happy that those, I can't wait to watch those. I'm going to be, if I find out one of, Heim or Semien or especially Garcia is up at the plate, I'm going to watch their at bat. You know why? Because I hope that they do great for their new team. Because when they do, we'll be brought up. I'm rooting for them as badly as I rooted for them when they were here. Right? When you win a championship, it bonds the players, but it bonds the fans to those players. And look at the 2011 guys. Anytime anyone from 2011, besides maybe Mark Lowe, comes to Arlington, even then, I guarantee you, Mark Lowe would probably be cheered. Now, we've won one, all forgiven. Nelson Cruz would be heroically cheered by Rangers fans. Right? When you have a team like that has a lot of success, it bonds the players and the fans. And you love those players no matter what. Now, I know Hamilton and Kinsler had some issues and whatever, but even now, it's all hunky-dory. We're all good, right? It's what happens. Time heals all. But still, the point is that I'm rooting for them. I'm excited for the new direction of the Rangers. I know people are worried about the offense, and those concerns, I believe, are completely valid. CY is banking on, look, there's a good probability it all goes wrong, and Josh Young continues to decline. Seager is still Seager, but injured. Nimmo continues the decline. He's kind of been on. It's been a smaller decline. Carter can't stay healthy. Langford just continues to not take that next all-star level step, right? Higgy and Jansen are fine, but nothing spectacular. Berger is injured again, or Jock is wherever he was last year. It could all go wrong. And we'll all look at it and go, CY screwed up by not going out and acquiring a bat and went out and acquired pitchers. Right? His two biggest, now he did acquire Brandon Nimmo, but he acquired a guy that was already slightly declining. His numbers have been declining a little bit. Or it could be, hey, CY, it's a gamble. Or CY gambles and Jock Peterson finds his form again, hits 25 home runs. Berger hits 25 home runs, hits 240, right? Brandon Nimmo hits 250, 260, and maybe hits 30 home runs. You never know. Things can happen. Seager has an all-star year. Langford takes that next step. CY is doing a lot of GMs do. He's hoping, I don't think he's overvaluing his players. I think he's hoping that they've changed some things and that this change helps. And baseball is a fickle sport, will always be a fickle sport. What one guy can be great for 3 years and then completely just fall off a cliff. The fastball that he was hitting before, he can't hit anymore. Why? Football is easy. He's declining because he's getting slower, right? Tyreek Hill is declining because he's getting injured and getting slower. Baseball is not so much. You can still have the same bat speed, but you just don't make contact with it. It happens. Baseball has a lot more variance in it than other sports. Anyway, getting off baseball now. We're going to go to we'll have season predictions and stuff later when we get closer to opening day. Football, today's a big day. Combine day. I know a lot of people, it's the combine. It doesn't really matter. It matters just, it's cool to get the testing. And for anyone that's part of my family that's watching this, there's a Waxahachie kid that I played with, former teammate of mine that is at the combine. I know I've talked about him on here before, Keith Abney. I'm super excited for Keith. Like, I know him. This isn't like a guy that, I met a couple. No, like, we were on the same team together. I'm going to try. I've been waiting till after the combine to do it because he's busy preparing for that. It's a big deal. I want to try to get him on the show, see if we can, get a quick 10-minute interview with him. That'd be really cool to get, because he's going to be a top 50 pick. Like, this isn't like someone that's like, he's a Waxahachie kid, but he's probably going to go undrafted. Or like, 7th round. No, this is a guy that's going to be a top 50 pick. He's been one of the better corners in college football at least last year, past couple years. Had a big interception in the Big 12 championship game against Texas. I mean, it was, or against the play in the playoff game. Yeah, it was Big 12 championship, because I think that was the year where they turned to the SEC. Anyway, point is, he's done a great job. And I'm super excited for him to be in the draft. I'm super excited to see him. I think they go on the third day at the combine. I could be wrong. Either tomorrow. I think today is D-line and linebackers. So Cowboys have had a ton of visits. They've definitely been hammering defensive visits. They visited with a lot of linebackers, guys like C.J. Allen, Sonny Styles. They visited. I think they did a formal visit with Caleb Downs. These are like the quick 15-minute visits that teams do at the combine. There's been a lot of news at the combine. This is where, a lot of agents are there. This is where you start to get negotiations for new contracts. To start, Javonte Williams re-signed 3 years, $24 million. But if you looked at what the breakdown of the contract, this year's cap hit is less than $2 million. So that's a hell of a deal. And it's $16 million guaranteed. So I think what it is the first 2 years essentially are going to be guaranteed. And then the third year might have, if we want to cut him, could the Cowboys draft him? If we had our second round pick, yes. I could have seen him falling to 44, and maybe we don't draft corner. Maybe we draft edge and linebacker in the first round, and we go Keith Abney in the second round. That's very possible. Just so you know, if we do draft Keith, me and Donnell, if Donnell might be at his draft party. That's the thing is, Donnell might actually not be on the draft show this year because he might be at Keith's draft party. But if he is here, me and him will be doing a happy dance around the studio if we draft Keith Abney. It would be really cool to see him play for the Cowboys. I don't want Murphy's Law to come true, right? The thing you dread the most if you dread something more, the more likely it is to happen. So I'm trying not to dread Keith going to the Giants, Commanders, or Eagles. So my take is this. Go to the AFC. Just go to I don't care if it's the Jets, I'm sorry. Go to the AFC. Go somewhere over there. We'll see you once every 4 years, and I can root for you from over there. If you go to the NFC, fine. But please just don't go in our division. Please. I'm sorry, Keith, but I'm hoping that you don't there are 3 teams, and I'm hoping you don't get drafted by, and it's one of those 3 teams. He'll be but we'll talk about him more when we get more into the draft process and everything. But Javonte, it's a really good deal for us. Obviously the news about Brandon Aubrey, what's real, what's fake. I'm just going to say this. Sounds like they offered him something that would make him the highest paid kicker, but not by a lot. And Aubrey wanted it to be a lot. So my take is this. Try to get it done. If you can't, put the second round tender on him. Or hell, put the first round tender. It's only like $7 million and some change. Put the first round tender. Make a team give you their first round pick, and then maybe start to look. Maybe look at kicker again next year, right? It'll be very interesting to see what they do. I really kicking is one of those things. It's like a closer. It's very fickle. The good ones eventually, even the good ones will break down eventually. Justin Tucker broke down eventually. So even the good ones will probably end up breaking down. So, you definitely want to be cautious about that. But if we get him back, I'm happy because Brandon Aubrey's a weapon. If we don't get him back and you find a new kicker, you can find a good kicker. Not a great one like him, maybe. The chances are a lot lower. But I'm not concerned about it because it's either going to be it's like with Pickens. Either it gets done and he's on the team, or he doesn't get done and we get heavily compensated for that. Either way, I'm pretty happy with whatever happens. Speaking of Pickens, it sounds like there's been the talks are maybe beginning. Obviously monitor that. We'll see how much he gets. Will he play on the tag? Will he do this? Will he do that? Be very curious to see. But for Dallas, go watch on YouTube. They did post interviews, combine interviews with all the new defensive coaching, coaches. Cool. I always like to hear from the new guys and hear what hear what they talk about. How do they talk? What are they saying? They all seem to be pretty aligned. Very excited. But that's gonna do it for football because outside of the combine, free agency starts March 9th. It's the legal tampering period. Less than 2 weeks away from that. But for right now, we are going to call Chase so that all right. So that he can weigh in on all the segments and the Mavs.
Hello.
Hello. I'm now with my co-host Chase Olsman. The show can begin.
Yeah, about time.
Well, hey, you know what? We just run a little late. It happens. Thankfully, no one tried to walk in the studio yet.
Awesome. I've been watching
because I've been waiting for someone to try to walk in. So let's do the Mavs here. What do you have any thoughts? I'm sure you do on the first stars. After last night's win.
No, I mean I'm glad that they got off to a good start on the second half of the season. And I know that Miko is added to the IR. I don't know how long he's projected to be out for. I'm hoping it's not too big of an injury, but no, I mean, with no Ottinger, with no Rantanen still going out and getting a pretty dominant win, good start to the second half of the season.
All right, we'll go to the Rangers. I think you were there. I think you were actually listening for most of that segment. Is there anything I missed? Anything that you can think of? I'm trying to think of anything that I missed.
No, I think I started listening. Yeah, I think I came in 3 minutes after you started, so I was there for the end of the start segment. But no, not really. I know the game that they're getting blown out by. They don't have any of their top guys playing. I think Jock is the only notable guy playing in that game.
Yeah.
And then the one they're losing, I think 2-0 where everyone else is playing. But no, nothing really. Just season's a month away, basically, or today? Is a month away exactly?
March 27th, so a month and a day.
A month and a day, yeah. So I'm just anxious on that coming back, but nothing on. I think you covered basically everything about the Rangers offseason so far.
Well, no, we're getting blown up by the A's because it was Tyler Wade, Jock Peterson, Alejandro Zuna, Cam Colley, Bride, Martin,
right, that's what
Herrera,
I'm saying.
Zavala. Yeah. But then against the Brewers, we're losing 4-0, and that's where you see all the starters.
Oh, last time I looked, it was 2-0. Okay.
It's 4-0 now. That's Haggerty, Langford, Seager, Berger, Jansen, Smith, Duran, Canna, Johnson.
Yeah,
so,
I think all the guys I think the offense has been fine. At least the top guys have gotten hits, I believe.
Yeah.
But
well,
whatever does not matter.
As we've said probably every year we've had the show, do not overreact to spring training statistics. It's spring training. And then obviously the Cowboys. I know you have thoughts about the Cowboys, especially probably Javonte and.
Yeah, well, first off, I'm excited about Javonte's deal. I think it was great value. I think he is. I mean, for guys that are making more than him, based off last season, he had a more productive year. And I'm thinking of guys who are going to be making more than him or are making more than him currently. like Breece Hall is going to be expecting a new deal, and I know Breece is obviously on the Jets organization, might not be in the best situation, but I think Johnson had a way more productive year. I think Montgomery is making more than him, and he had a better year. There's guys out there that he's outplaying for way less of a way less money. So I think I'm very happy with that. And like you said, the numbers for next season, there's a $2 million cap hit, which is great.
When you
I know that.
You reminded me that like they got it done before Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall get their deals because he may have gotten more after they get their deals. He probably wouldn't have gotten more than they got, but he would have probably gotten more than 24 million. Let's say that Kenneth Walker gets in the 30s. His agent may have said, well, he needs to get closer to Kenneth Walker now, right?
Right.
So they got it done. They're the ones setting the market. They're not the ones resetting the market. That makes sense.
Right. Even though, Javonte isn't the most valuable piece to bring back this offseason, they were pretty adamant that they wanted to get him done first and foremost. Yeah. And they did. And then
get out of the way.
Going back to that point where the market will reset. I mean, JSN said that he wants $40 million. He wants to be the most paid, the highest paid receiver. And obviously he's a Super Bowl champion. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, but if those guys get $40 million, if he gets $40 million, I mean, JSN really took off this past season. So Mulugheta can be like, well, I mean, Pickens had a great year when he finally had a quarterback. So what makes him not a $40 million receiver?
Right.
I mean, JSN had the better year, but was it by that much? Not really. So I mean, look, we know that they're most likely going to tag him. They've said it multiple times that they are leaning that direction. I don't know what they're waiting on. Just tag him and get a deal done, because there's going to be guys that are going to sign and make a lot of money. Yeah. And if his camp is asking for 30, then you do that. There's no debate. You do that, you get it done. So that's where I'm at with the Aubrey situation. Like you said on the show, and I was going to mention it, if you didn't, place the tender on him. And, honestly, this hurts Aubrey and Aubrey's agent situation, because say they place the second round tender and, the team offers $5.5 million, $6.5 million. Jerry's going to match that. And then he's going to lose out on the money that he, could have gotten just from putting pen to paper.
Yeah.
Jerry could offer him 7.5, 8. You take it. You shouldn't be wanting 10, because if you place the tender on him, no one's going to, most likely not going to give up a first, maybe a second round pick. No, I don't know if anyone would do that.
I really think that if you, like the Ravens, for example, team that's in the back end of the second round, if they were like, look, Tyler Loop didn't have a great year, the Steelers, Chris Boswell's getting older, Brandon Aubrey is that's the thing, is we got to realize. I remember like Seth told me, he's like, man, if I needed a kicker, I'd give him a second rounder for Aubrey, for a kicker that good, right? So it'll be that's why I'm not worried about Aubrey. Either way, we're going to get assets. Yeah. We either get the guy or we get assets in return for the guy. And I think those are very comparable to the kind of value he provides to your team.
Sure. I just think Aubrey, specifically for us, obviously because he's only been with us, but Aubrey wins you games.
Yes.
And being able to, get a touchback and then only have to go 10 yards to be in range, that's a weapon that you have. And I think, they got to get a deal done. I think they will get a deal done with Aubrey. I even saw him comment on on 105.3's Instagram post saying fake to something. Either fake that they offered him the most money, or fake that they were asking for 10. I don't know. It was
fake that they offered him 7.5. I think they offered him. I think they offered him like, I think Butker's making like 6.4. They offered him probably like 6.5. That's probably what happened.
Yeah. And look, I agree with Aubrey. Look, I give him 7. Then if he really wants to be the most paid, give him 7. I think 3 for 21 is very, or 4 for 28, whatever you want to do. I think that is, he deserves it. Obviously, I think that's very reasonable. I mean, it's not hurting your books at all, really, for something like that. That small, and you get the best kicker in the league back on your roster.
Right.
So we'll see what happens with that. But then, I expect. I think the tag deadline is Tuesday, so I would expect the tag to officially be placed on Pickens very shortly. I mean, I don't know what they're waiting on. There's they keep hinting that they're going to do it, and they haven't done it yet. So I don't know if they're just going to get a deal done. I don't know if I would expect the tag comes first, and then they try to negotiate a deal.
I did want to mention
we'll
one more piece of Cowboys news. We did hire our last coach, Brandon Jordan, BT, who is a pass rush consultant, but he's been in that role for the Broncos, and he is seen as a home run hire for the Cowboys. So I'm very excited for his hiring for guys like Donovan Zaraku and potentially the edges they bring in the draft. Just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I agree. And anyone coming from the Broncos defense, I'm happy with. I don't care who you are. So yeah, definitely a good hire there to round out the staff. But no, we'll see what happens. I know it's gonna get in the next few days, or maybe even today. Who knows? It's gonna get pretty. Could get messy, but also could get some deals done here in the next couple days.
Yeah.
So that's
all right. Well, then we'll get to the math segment, Chase. What's been going on? I haven't. Again, like I think we've won a couple games. Unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're on a 2-game win streak, and most likely they're going to be on a 4-game win streak because they have the Kings tonight, who are currently the number 1 pick odds, who are clearly tanking, and then they have the Grizzlies, who are tanking as well. So I think they're going to go on a 4-game win streak here, which is not good, not ideal. And so we'll see what happens with that. Coop's still out recovering from that foot sprain. Again, I don't know if that is just because they're trying to get their best odds of losing a game while they have the excuse that Coop's hurt, or he really is hurt. But my theory is that they have 4 pretty easy games. They've already gotten 2 of them. They've already won 2 of them. So maybe they're like, okay, let's get these easy games out of the way and without Coop, and then bring him back for when it's tougher games where he can develop a lot better and will still most likely end up losing.
All right.
But nothing else going on. I don't remember what we really covered last week outside of we need them to lose, and that I think was last week when they returned to action after the All-Star break. I think so, right? I believe that was last week when they returned from All-Star break.
You're the expert.
I think it was, yeah. I'm going to say it was. So nothing else has gone on outside of the 2 games that they've won. They play tonight. They play tomorrow. That's about it. Right. I think the only news actually that came out was like they were going to let Chris Middleton decide on what he wants to do, which is a good move. You let the veteran who you respect make his choice if he wants to stay or want to buy out.
All right, they have come out with from the combine. Yeah. Defensive lineman Ruben Bain's official measurements. He's 6'2", 263, 30 and 7/8 inch arms. So sub 31 inch arms. You know what? Maybe he'll drop to 12.
Right?
I hope.
Yeah, I mean everybody knew his arms were going to be a problem before the combine.
All of the like the T-Rex comps and stuff are really. I like this one. It's 2 T-Rex like fighting. It's like a scene from Jurassic Park, and it says Ruben Bain versus Will Campbell. Okay, come on. That's pretty funny. All right. Well, Chase, thank you for hopping on for a few minutes, and it's kind of weird not to like end the. It's weird to not end the show with like all right, our weekly picks or week 1. Okay, here we go. Or Cowboys versus. It's kind of weird to not have that anymore. But thanks for hopping on. You said you'll be back next week.
I'll try to be. Yeah, I don't know my schedule exactly, but I will hope on being there next week.
Next week's the last week before spring break. We might do one over spring break. We might have to do one over spring break because again, that's free. The tampering period starts that Tuesday. Free agency officially opens that Thursday. So we might have to do one that week, but if it wasn't a big week, I wouldn't fool with it. But next week, we will probably have mock draft 2.0 next week, so it'll be post combine.
Okay.
So we'll have that. All right. See you guys next week.